doesn't have video. I'm sure he's probably on here. You know what? I don't see him on here actually.
Same.
Looking for Sheridan.
Yeah, I didn't see Mike. All right, so one other step I have to take and we should be able to get started. Okay, so we are recording this meeting in addition to it being transcribed. If I can, I'm going to read into the record two different documents. One document is related to the cases. There are two cases this evening. One case the board is making just a decision on. The second case actually would be a full hearing. And as that's the case, there may be somebody online that wishes to be a party protestant. If they're a property owner within 200 feet of the property for which the zoning relief is being sought, they may be have been identified as a party that's being impacted by the zoning relief, and therefore they may be requesting to be a party protestant. Anyone in the municipality may make public comment, and we'll talk about how that can be done. However, if you determine that you are affected by the relief more than just being a member of the general public, you may be entitled to become a party protestant in the hearing that the zoning board hearing board is holding this evening. And we hopefully have sent a letter to you and you have received that letter. I shouldn't say hopefully, we have sent a letter to you. Hopefully you received it and it gave you instructions. I'm going to go ahead and read those instructions and the difference between being a party protestant and just making public comment so that everybody understands. A party protestant has standing in the hearing. A person making public comment does not. During the hearing, the party protestants may, at the appropriate time and at the direction of the board chair or the solicitor, make an opening statement, call and ask questions of witnesses, review and or submit evidence, object to evidence, testify under oath, and make closing statement. After the hearing, the party protestant will receive a written decision of the zoning hearing board. And in addition, they may appeal the decision of the zoning hearing board to the Court of Common Pleas. After the presentation of evidence, anyone in the municipality may make public comment requesting the relief. So during this stay-at-home time, we have come up with a method that allows for making public comment. And if I can, I'm going to just go through the 4 ways that someone can make public comment. First of all, an attendee who is on the call can raise their hand during the time in which the chairman of the zoning hearing board calls for public comment, and we will recognize that person. We would unmute them. The person would be allowed to make their comment. If by chance the attendee has phoned in and is unable to raise their hand, the attendee can, if they are online by computer as well, through the chat function, let us know that they wish to speak. We do not monitor the chat for anything other than that, to know that somebody wants to speak, and may indicate that they want to make public comment. They would need to give their phone number so I know which person to allow, or which person to unmute. The other option would be that they could go to and send an email to publiccomment@newtowntownship.org, and that is entirely spelled out, full word, public comment at Newtown Township, which is also fully spelled out, .org. Include their name and phone number, and that they're using for this particular phone call or into this here, and we will go ahead and unmute them and they can make public comment. An attendee who wishes not to necessarily make a public statement by actually speaking can, if they choose to, email to the email address publiccomment@newtowntownship.org. Please enter your comment into the email. You must include your name and address for the public comment to be brought into the record. If you do not include your name and address, we cannot read it into the record. The other option that we have is that if you wish to have left public comment in the drop box in front of the township building, we would have accepted public comment. I will tell you, at about 6:40 this evening, I did go down and check. There was no public comment in the drop box related to, well, there was no public comment in the drop box at all for tonight's hearing. So, Mr. Chairman, those are the instructions for this evening. I believe you can move from there and call to order and do whatever else on your agenda this evening.
All right, that's fine. I'd like to call this, I guess, the May 21st zoning hearing board meeting to order. I guess we could address first Z 2019-03, Theodore Gordon Hardy, 4 Main Street, Newtown Square, PA. And one question I have on this, we do have a proposed order we'd like to go with. So
You had two solicitors that I believe are on the call, one of which currently has their hand raised. So are you prepared to allow them to speak?
Steve, I got here. Steve, this is Mike Sheridan.
Yes.
Identified on the screen as Mike Lynch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got here late. Did we take roll call to establish the quorum and everybody here?
We had talked about that there was a quorum before you got on, Mike.
Okay.
So now there's a full attendance.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Is Mike Lynch there then? He is there, isn't he?
I am
Okay.
here.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, Mike, that's right. You were here earlier.
So we had 2 Mike Lynches on tonight.
I'm the
I don't
younger,
think-
better looking one.
Aren't the two listed as Mike Lynch not going to be
they're not going to be voting on this matter.
right on this
Correct.
4 Main Street?
So I've just unmuted Mr. Miller, and I am, whoops. Mr. Sakura was here,
He's here.
and Mr. Sakura is unmuted as well. I'm going to, if the board would like, I'll promote them both to panelists.
That'd be fine.
If I did it right, they should both be coming over as panelists.
I don't know that you can see me, but can you hear me?
We can hear you, Rich.
This is Rich. Okay. I see a little button here for video if you want me on video.
There you go.
Hi, guys.
Where did I see the little video button?
See it?
Yeah. Okay.
We see you now, Rich.
Fantastic.
Are we
Are we
good
waiting
to
for
move?
them, or did you guys have
No, they're-
comments? for-
They're on now, so
So this is Rich Sakura. I am representing Newtown Township in this matter. Last meeting, I had announced that I thought we were really close to a settlement, and the parties, the applicants in the township had jointly asked for a continuance for your decision until this meeting. And unfortunately, we were not able to reach a settlement amongst all of the parties. You'll recall that there's a number of protestants. It became apparent that it just wasn't going to happen as a settlement. So the Board of Supervisors did not consider this as a settlement. And we went back to the zoning officer and I sat down, Mr. Retchek, and we.
Oh,
We
lost.
we can't hear you, Rich.
Oh, boy.
Tom, can you read his lips?
Yeah, no, not real well. No. So long as, okay, somebody will get him, I guess.
I see his face, I see his lips moving, I don't.
Sat down with Mr. Retzik, and that's all I've got here so far.
Yeah.
He's continuing to
Well,
talk. Let me see if I can.
I don't know if it would be
another way.
appropriate for me to kind of jump in just to kind of maybe backpedal on what Rich was going to say. Is that okay, Mr. Lodge? Would you like me to do that?
Yeah, that's fine until we figure out what's going
Yeah,
on with it.
until Rich.
Yeah.
That's fine. Anyway, Mr. Sakura and I discussed a lot of the testimony that was given primarily about from the doctor who was a witness of the township. He spoke in depth about the quality and the methodologies used in this type of facility. And, I believe his range was between 6 and 8 people.
Oh,
That coupled with the fact that
oh, it's not?
sounds like someone
You
talking.
got me now?
Yes.
Hello.
There was a button on my laptop in addition to the button on the screen. I don't know why that. Okay, the button's off. So I don't know. Did you hear anything that I said?
No,
No.
Oh, great. All right. So what I was saying is I'm here representing Newtown Township. We had a what we thought was a proposed settlement, but there were a number of protestants, as you'll recall in this case. In coordination with some of those protestants, we determined that a settlement just wasn't going to happen as to all parties. So the township just kind of abandoned the idea of trying to settle it. With the zoning officer, I sat down and the zoning officer determined that on the basis of the record before us in this specific house for these specific applicants and for this specific use. So this isn't like a precedential decision that applies throughout the township, but this specific record, the zoning officer made some determinations as to what a reasonable accommodation would be. I submitted a brief to you all that kind of supports that recommendation. I asked the applicant's attorney, Charles Miller, if the proposal would be acceptable to them. So meaning that if you adopted that order that I sent, would the applicants be okay with that? And the answer was yes. So it's a
Nope.
No.
Lost him again.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Rich, we've lost you again.
If I could, this is Charles Miller for the applicants. I don't know if you can hear me as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll just kind of, until Rich gets back, to continue on to what he was saying was that what has been submitted to the board was language of a proposed order for the zoning hearing board, which in sum and substance discusses the basic parameters of what was agreed to between the township and the applicant, and did not involve the neighbors because of some of the things that were brought up. And when we ultimately believe that an agreement was not going to be able to be reached, and it involves, in summary, a reasonable accommodation for 7 occupants. However, there is a period of time, as of now, there are 9 residents at the occupants and residents at the property, and that those individuals would not be forced to leave as a result of that order, but would, upon their natural leaving, which, as the testimony reveals, is usually between a couple of months or longer, but generally, given the average, about 4 months or so. And some of the, obviously, those individuals have already been there, so the clock's kind of already started on that. But those individuals would not be able to return, or would not be able to, my client would not be able to have another resident come in until that number reached 7. When that number reached 7, that was the final number, and that would remain throughout the course of my client's occupancy of the property. Other conditions involving the limitation on parking, code compliance with respect, some of those which were discussed during the hearing, and other issues, other things that relate to the property, that this is for this property only, has no precedential value. That's the sum and substance of the order which was agreed to and that we are proposing to the board.
Okay, thank you. Rich, can we hear you again, or is that?
I hope so.
Yes.
You got me? Okay.
All right. Do we need, I guess, is there anything else we need before we make a motion?
We also want to point out, just so that it's not overlooked and we don't have to hear about this later, Patty Wilson posting a comment about the record not being opened up, to just address that for her. She posted a comment in the chat saying, because the two of you were talking, I guess, concerned that the record hasn't been opened back up. I guess we closed out the record at the last meeting. So I'm just saying to address it so we don't have to hear about it.
Well, do we need to have any public comment at this time on this matter, considering we already, so could we do public comment, and then if we decide we want to make a motion tonight, we will?
Do we have to have public comment though? I mean, this is,
I think to be
Yes.
safe, we should.
Yes, you have to have, you don't have to have further testimony, but you do have to, my understanding is you don't have to have further testimony, but you do have to allow public comment because you're going to be making an action as a board.
from people that are impacted by this within 200 feet.
Well, I think to be safe, we should just do, if there's, can we see if there's any public comment for this matter before we make render a decision? Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry. So if you would like to make public comment and you are as an attendee, now would be the time to raise your hand. I see 2 hands raised. One is Skip and Pat. Whoops, Skip just dropped his hand. So I'm going to, Pat, I've allowed you to talk. You should be unmuted.
Could you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah, I believe I sent a public comment in, which I would like to have read in. It's not very long. And
Could you state your full name, so for the record?
last name is Karla Greco, COLAGRECO. I am a party protestant. I live across the street from the property in question.
Right.
If you want to read the comment, you can read it, or I can try to reiterate it. But basically, one of my big contentions was the time frame to get to 7 people has no limit to it. I don't know how long it's going to take, and I'm very, that's one reason I didn't sign it, is because it's open-ended, and it can go on for months or who knows how long. What was the other one? We wanted to have their own house rules, so to speak, that they have, no smoking out front, no smoking in the doorway, no parking in the streets or on the grass. We want them like to have it partly informed or enforced by any decision here. I appreciate that. That's it for now. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add. I'm finished.
All right, well, thank you so much for your comment.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I see no other hands raised.
All right, one question, if I do make a
Oops,
motion.
wait a second. Nope.
Sure.
I see no other hands raised.
Okay. If we do make a motion to approve this and we do like this proposed order, how do we go about adopting this proposed order here? Do we need to read that to the record? Can we have that just published at some point in the next day or two, or?
I believe that if you, I think the summary of the order has already been fairly stated by Mr. Miller. And
Yes.
I think that you can just explain that you have a more detailed, so you can approve a reasonable accommodation of 7 with the conditions as set forth in the order. And I don't think you have to read the whole thing personally.
Okay. On application Z 2019-03 for Main Street, I'd like to make a motion to approve the reasonable accommodations of 7 for this facility. And obviously I want to have this order adopted because it goes into greater detail. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. And thank you, everybody.
And then you'll get a signed order out to us. And
Yes, I'll get a signed order out by today or tomorrow to everyone and with the further details, but
thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, for the record, I think we ought to note that Mike Lynch and Mike Sheraton did not vote. And so
Yes.
it was a vote of 3-0.
yes.
Okay, that was Dave Kalman was
And
the.
Bob,
Dave Kalman was
Bob,
the third.
when you sign the order, just send it to me. I'll send it out to the attorneys and to the party protesting.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Okay,
Hey, Rob. Rob,
No, that's Karla Greco's phone's still going, so.
I think if I can, I guess, reiterate some of the background noise on Mr. Karla Greco's phone. It seems like Patty did try to raise her hand digitally and was somewhat unsuccessful in doing so. I see no hands raised. That's just what I'm trying to reiterate. Gav, you're muted.
okay.
Thank you.
Um,
I mean,
Well,
we've made the motion. Let's move
We did
on.
make a motion and approve it, so do you want to move on to Z 2020-07? Earl and Sally Ziegenfuss, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I would ask if you are on the line for this case, if you would raise your hand if you are the party, because I can't tell who is the party based on what I see on the line.
And this is 15 Valley View Lane, Newtown Square.
I see Skip.
Yes,
Are you is this the right person?
yes.
I'm going to go ahead and promote you to a panelist since you're the party presenting.
Okay, and Tom, do you want, is this the only? do you wanna
Hello?
pick Both, I guess, after she's
Okay.
ready.
Okay, when you promoted us, we were lost.
You're there. The only thing you need to do is turn on your video, if you wish to turn it on.
Okay. You're
And
gonna see,
that's in the bottom corner.
Oh,
yeah,
there you
you're gonna see our white hair.
That's okay.
Okay.
See our
There we
way.
go.
You want to swear,
Okay,
man, sir,
So-
you want me to swear him
This-
in there, Steve? The applicants, do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Is their file in order?
The file is in order. Everything's been posted on the property and mailings have gone out.
Do we need to have anyone identify themselves if they want to be a party protestant at this time?
This would be a good time to do that.
Okay. I guess, could you raise your hand, anyone, if you want to be a party protestant in this case? If not, before we render any decision, we will ask for public comment on this case. So.
I see none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. I guess the second one, Earl and Sally, how do you pronounce your last name? In case I.
Ziegenfuss.
Ziegenfuss. All right, if you'd like to put on your case, please proceed.
Okay, my wife has something I'd like her to read.
This was our statement as to why we wanted a porch. Our first home had an old wooden front porch that got a lot of use. When we moved to Newtown Square 35 years ago, our home was in need of some tender loving care and did not have a front porch. We weren't able to add on a porch back then. Raising our 3 wonderful daughters, providing for their education, and normal maintenance of our home took precedent. Some of my fondest memories of childhood are based on visits to my grandmother's home. She had a lovely front porch equipped with rocking chairs and a glider framed by some green and white awnings. We spent endless hours out there playing jacks and cards and listening to many stories of the old country. Each evening during nice weather, we automatically gravitated to the front porch. No cell phones to distract. We spent the time talking with each other. Our family vacations together for 2 weeks at the shore. Since having 2 knee replacements, it has been difficult for me to ambulate on the beach. I spend much of my time on the front porch reading and enjoying the ocean breeze. My grandchildren sometimes join me and we share stories with each other, and I'm in heaven. I call my husband the mayor, as he loves going for walks and standing in our driveway, talking with the neighbors. He promised me a front porch for Christmas so that I can enjoy the scenery, get out of the house, and take in the activities of our street. When we moved in, we were one of the youngest of the families on the block. Now we are surrounded by young families with little children riding their bikes and playing with each other, and we love it. One reason that I feel the need for a porch is the southern exposure that the front of our house receives. We have a beautiful wooden front door, but the sun is so strong that it has started cracking the wood. In the summer, you need a pot holder to touch the brass door handle. It is so hot. I realized that adding a front porch to our home would be a lovely improvement, and many of our neighbors here in Valley View Acres have porches. It was important to me that it be handicapped compliant, as I know the struggles of trying to use walkers and wheelchairs in tight spaces. So we are requesting that the zoning board grant our application for a variance. As we get older, I don't envy the thought of being a shut-in and look forward to many more years of enjoying our neighborhood from my front porch. And this was written before our self-isolation. Now I really need a porch. Thank you.
Now, and all your neighbors know about this porch, and anyone have any issue with that, or?
No, they're all thrilled for us. But
guess-
when they saw the yellow sign outside, they thought it was an estate sale or sheriff's sale or something.
And I guess the other question was, going through this neighborhood, I do see about half the houses, and maybe Andy, I don't know if you can comment, have porches. Is this breakdown in size of this porch fitting with all the other porches in this neighborhood with these houses?
Yeah,
Exactly the same.
I think everything is very similar with the front porch addition. I think this is just a matter of an existing non-conforming neighborhood, and I will let the board know that during our, we're in the process of rewriting the zoning code, and this is a particular area of focus, the R3 district, where we want to try to bring things more into what they actually are on the ground. So, maybe a year from now, if the rewrite goes well, the Ziegenfusses wouldn't even have to do this, or some future resident wouldn't have to do this because of the rewrite committee and because what we're trying to attempt to do. But I do want to let you folks know. So to answer your question, I think it would fit into the character of the neighborhood. I don't think it would stand out. But I just want to get into the dimensional characteristics. The Ziegenfusses would be asking you for a 10.5-foot variance. Our zoning code requires a 45-foot setback from the right-of-way line. And I don't know if Kathy included the plan in there. I had installed a bunch of different dimensions on the site plan that deals with the right-of-way of Valley View, which is a 50-foot right-of-way. So technically, the front porch is 44 feet from the curb line. that making that 31 feet from the right-of-way line. And our code does allow an encroachment of front porches into a front setback, but it only limits that by 40, I think it's 3.5 feet. So essentially, the Ziegenfusses are asking you for a 10.5-foot variance.
And that's only that right away if sidewalks were ever to go in down the road, right? So not something, I guess, that we essentially have to be concerned with here.
Yeah, I mean, there's the porch, again, is 31 feet from any right of way. So,
Gotcha.
you know.
And are the other porches, are they in the right of way the same way at this point? I mean, it seems like going through that, just on the road, there was another.
No, it's the same exact dimensions for all 4 of the porches that are shown there.
Right.
And they have about this, they'd be all the same setback. It didn't look like their house was set back any farther or closer to the road than anyone else's.
Right. The homes are very similar. Right?
I say we give the mayor what he wants.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your vote too.
Thank you. Well, I guess, do we have any public comment on this, or is there any other questions the board has?
I don't have any questions. I know that neighborhood and that street and what those houses are set up like, but that's just me.
Yeah, going through this, I went through that and went through the neighborhood a number of times. So if we have.
I hope you're going 15 miles an hour down our street too.
You might have seen me and my son.
You might have heard me.
Do we have any public comment on this matter?
If we do have public comment, would you please raise your hand? I see none.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion on 2020-07?
Can we pull the application back up just to reference that?
I mean, I have it in front of me. If you just want, I can make the motion.
That's fine too.
All right, make a motion for 2020-07, Earl and Sally Ziegenfuss, 15 Valley View Lane, Newtown Square, for variance for under section 172-34B5 for the front yard setback. All those in favor?
You didn't say a motion for what though, just to.
Oh, a motion to approve this variance.
The 10.5-foot variance, right?
Yes, 10.5 variance.
Because I don't believe it's stated in the application per se.
Yes. Is there a second for that?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Say it.
One question, if I may, when can I apply for my permit?
I was going to try to answer that. I'll get it out to you within the next day or so.
Okay.
No later than Tuesday. We've got a holiday on Monday.
Andy,
Okay.
since this is for the mayor, you mind writing one up now?
I'll pick it up.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service, and wash your hands.
That's right.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you so much. Have a good night.
Say it.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
All right, so I guess is our meeting adjourned at this time?
I did. I leave meeting.
I'll make a motion. to adjourn.
Public comment. It's a sin. It's a sin. I
still-
mean, they have to pay $800 for a thing that in a year there is going to be redundant.
We still have a few attendees in here, but I guess we're good, right? Or
Well, we've had public comment on each matter. Do we need to have any other public comment? I know we've gone back and forth. Do we need it? I don't think.
No.
Okay.
No.
meeting adjourned.
All right, well, thank you, everybody.
Buddy.
Yeah, have a good weekend, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks a
you.
lot.
During
All right,
Memorial
everybody
Day.
stay safe. Thanks so much.
See you later. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.